Caleb, take it
Thanks.
away.
Thanks, Chloe. Hi, everybody. Great to see you. Caleb Brown here. I'm excited to talk to you guys. And I know every speaker gets on here and says that, but I do this for a living. As Chloe said, I spend most of my time as CEO of New Planner Recruiting. So half of my day talking to job seekers like yourself, and then the other half talking to firm owners who are looking to hire you. So that's one of my jobs. Second job I have is teaching the practice management course at the University of Georgia. So I have about 100 undergrads that have to go through me in a practice management class to graduate every spring. And then third and final job is CFP practitioner for a couple dozen families on an RIA here in Athens, Georgia, where I live. So I'm excited about this. I hope I've got some good things for you. We have, I think, a smaller group. So look, I know this stuff already. I mean, I want to share some things, but I want you to get your questions answered. So if you have a question, type it in the chat and or raise your hand or just unmute yourself. I'm not sure how we have it set up, and Chloe can prompt me to answer that. But there's no place I would rather be than right here, right now, no, than with you guys. Okay, so how do we get hired? A lot of you are trying to transition into the financial planning profession, and I'm biased, but I think that's great. This is all I've ever done. I've never done anything else, so I'm like, uh, what we want to do today is I'm just going to look at my other screen here. I'll give you an overview of the financial planning profession. Okay, so what's out there? What are you getting yourselves into? What's a desirable candidate look like? We look at a couple thousand resumes every year. Okay, so we feel like we have a little bit of credibility, at least when it comes to that. How do we connect with firms? I mean, you're already doing one of the biggest things that's out there and signing up for the BLX internship, and then the interview process. What tips do we might that we can inside tricks can we give you there? So I just want to say, I mean, for the people that are already, if you're considering this business, I would just tell you if you're not sold yet to look no further. Okay. Again, I have a little bit of a bias because I've not been anywhere else, but in my job as a recruiter, I talk to people all day long, every day throughout the last 20 years of my career, all doing other things that I think are really cool. And they want to come and do what you're doing. They want to be a financial planner. Okay. So I'm talking about like, FBI, field analysts. I'm talking about fighter jet pilots. I'm talking about NFL, NBA players. And sometimes those people are hurt. They can't continue, but very successful real estate people working at Silicon Valley and Google and Facebook and all these fun, like they making all this money. And it's just at the end of the day, it's like, Caleb, I'm making I'm 24 years old and I'm making $350,000 a year, but my job sucks. I really would like to go and start in a financial planning firm and make $50,000 a year and have meaningful conversations and help people versus just moving an icon from one part of a website to another. Okay. But these are the conversations that I have with people. Okay. Ex NASA people. I mean, you name it. I've probably talked to that person who's trying to become a financial planner. Okay, so what else? So rewarding. This is not one of those jobs where you just sort of get a degree and you sort of learn some basics. And I'm not want to pick on the bankers and like, you kind of VP of the bank, you're sort of prop your feet up on your desk and you're all good. I mean, every 4 years the tax laws change, it seems like. So with the new administration, so there's always things going on, different strategies. A lot of it is legislation, regulation, cool new strategies, ways to connect with clients, different. I mean, just think of all the AI stuff coming out, but how do you connect with them and get them to do what you want to do? Different communication strategies. I'm having a little bit of delay on my. Let's try this. Flexibility and variety. I mean, it's something as a financial planner. It's something different every day. When the phone rings for my financial planning phone, my work phone, I don't know. First of all, I'm excited to receive that call because I love the clients that I work with. I don't know what they're going to ask about because I'm holding myself out as a comprehensive financial planner. If I was holding myself out as an investment person or an accountant, if they call in, I probably know what they're going to ask, at least with some margin. Okay. I don't know what they're going to ask, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great conversation, and it's probably going to be a a challenge, a puzzle for me to figure out and go do some research and get back to them on it. And it's a lot of fun. All right, what else? And I mean, too, and this is maybe why some of you are looking to get in this career. You can make lots of money. If that's your goal, you can make lots and lots of money if you want to. Okay. That's not everybody's goal. Okay. Uh, Usually the more clients, the higher net worth, the more money you can make. Some of you got in this field because you want to work with the people that have no money. Understand that too. Still very rewarding. And there's people out there doing that are making a living. So that's why I think, so I just want to reiterate, I think you're in the right area here. And then lastly, I think this is probably the biggest needle that or lever that you can pull is we've only been around about 50 years. All the other professions have been around thousands of years. And you join if you're an accountant or you're a banker or mortgage person or a doctor, I mean, you're not really moving the needle. You're a lawyer, you're not moving the needle. Financial planning, you can move the needle. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out. I mean, we don't even have consistent titles or I'm sorry, definition on what a financial planner is, much less titles for what we're going to call new planners when we hire them. Okay. So I think that's really cool. And that's one of the reasons why I started New Planner Recruiting. And I like being in this profession and don't really want to do anything else. So I came up with this because a lot of my conversations are firms are like, hey, candidates, job seekers are like, hey, I can't find anybody. I can't find anybody to hire me, or I'm interviewing, I'm not getting a job. Then I go to lunch and I come back and I'm talking to the firm. They're like, where are all these people? We can't find anybody. We want a successor. We want to hire people. We want to grow. What's going on? So what I came up with was this. It's just if you're a finance person or you're having a financial normal distribution curve. So the light gray, and don't worry about positive, negative. I just couldn't fit everything onto the right side, but the light gray, sort of one standard deviation. So about 2/3 of the candidates that reach out to me and the resumes that we review are what I'm going to call average. Okay. Not that that's bad or good. There's nothing wrong with that. This is where I was when I was coming into the industry out of Texas Tech University a long time ago. And all that means is I just did what I was supposed to in school and you need to do an internship. You need to, do this project. You need to take this, you need to do that. I just did it. I did not one thing more. So it's all mindset. Okay. It's all mindset. I'm not talking about grades. I'm not talking about Series 7 scores or anything like that. Nothing. It's all mindset. So I was an average candidate. So 2/3 of the people that reach out to me are average. Okay, well, second standard deviation is light gray. That's somebody who's doing the minimum, but then they're also taking it up a notch. Okay, so hey, I'm supposed to do a capstone project to get sit for my CFP, and I have to do the plan in Excel or Money Guide Pro or Right Capital or eMoney or whatever it is. And I'm going to do it in Excel. Then I'm going to do it in Money Guide Pro. I'm not going to get graded on the Money Guide Pro. That's just for me to learn because I'm interested. And I want to be able to put that on my resume. Hey, now I have Money Guide Pro experience. Then I'm also going to reach out to my aunt, and my uncles, and my mother and father, or my brother, and I'm going to run their information through as long as they're comfortable sharing it with me. I'm not going to get a grade. And that's the part when I was an undergrad, like, wait a minute, why would I do anything if I'm not going to get a grade for it? That's average candidate mentality. So if you think that way, you're in the average side, which is fine as long as you're looking for an average opportunity. But I've never had a candidate come to me and say, hey, can you find me an average opportunity? They all want the high growth, like the A player opportunity. So that's second standard deviation. Third standard deviation is the orange. All right. So the yellow, depending on sort of the tint of your screen there. And this is, if you're a sports person, this is the number one overall draft pick. This is the Caitlin Clark, the Simone Biles of candidates. Okay. They're doing everything that the average and the above average can. Let me just give you an example of, somebody that's a lot of volunteerism, I'm helping people in a crisis center or credit counseling or, volunteering with FPA, or if I'm a student, I'm doing student leadership. I'm doing something for my student body government, my fraternity or sorority. I'm doing volunteer income tax returns. I'm doing peer counseling. I was supposed to do one internship to graduate. I did 3. It's just the mindset. I'm listening to all the New Planner podcast episodes, not going to get graded. I'm listening to the Kitsa stuff. I mean, I'm listening to the XYPN stuff, and I'm just doing that because I want to be better than everybody else, because I assume that they're doing all these other things. Okay. So the problem is, the reason why I came up with this is because everybody thinks they're the Simone Biles candidate. And they're not. So I was in the light gray. I had to work really hard to move into the dark gray. And then the guy that I went to work for a long time ago probably had to lower his expectations some. Okay. So you can move the needle if you want to. So we may have, I can't see the roster, but we may have had some people click off after that. But hey, I'm just sort of a straight shooter and just let it, just call it how I see it. So that didn't mean to be offensive, but I mean, I want you to understand sort of what you're getting into and sort of where these firm owners' expectations are. You guys all remember COVID. I had one firm reach out to me like March 15th, 2020 was not a good time. And I had put some candidates in front of a client, and I mean, their revenue that quarter was going to be like 25% decrease. And here's what they're double negative, not mine. They said we cannot not afford to hire this person. That person was so good and doing so many cool things, and here's how I can add value and the initiative. And they pulled the trigger. They increased their payroll. Okay, this is important for all the corporate executives out there. They increased their payroll when their revenue went down double digits. That's not what they tell you to do in business school. Okay, that person was really good, and here's some of the stuff that they were doing and some ideas for you. So taking any of the, and I know you have review classes through BLX and some of these other things, but go get these licenses. I mean, SIE, super easy to pass. All right. Series 63, a lot of my students will do that at UGA. That's not bad. Series 65, that's a different ball game. Okay. You're going to have to buy some review materials and study for that. Take it serious. You don't have to be sponsored. I have a whole chapter in my book about that, on what licenses you need. All right. Where you need to go, depending on where you want to go. You want to go to a broker dealer firm. You want to go to a fee only firm. I already touched on, a lot of you can do the HR block. You can, they're always trying to get tax return preparers. So you can go through their training. It's good. You can 1040 and all the schedules, go to conferences, excuse me. I mean, you could probably go to a conference pardon me. You could probably go to a conference every week now versus when I got started, and there were like 3 that you could go to. Let me just take a drink of water, just 1 second. Secure multiple internships. A lot of you guys are working on that right now through BLX. Sit for the CFP. I mean, get the CFP stuff knocked out as quick as possible, because when you go to a potential employer, it sounds a lot better when you say, yep, here's 12 years in corporate America. It wasn't fit for me. Looking to take a step back, pivot into this. Got my CFP coursework knocked out. I'm sitting for the November exam. After that, I plan on getting my Series 65. I'm ready to rock and roll. That's much better than going to a firm saying, well, I did that BLX thing. I'm not really sure I want to do financial planning. Will you take a chance on me and hire me just so I can kind of figure it out? And I might want to do this, and I might stay, and I might someday get my CFP. And oh, by the way, can you pay for that? Just put yourself in the employer's shoes. Like, which candidate would you want to hire? Okay. So that's another lens to look at it through. Learn software programs. You can get free exposure through the BLX and other stuff out there, just on the vendors' websites, on all, Right Capital, Money Guide Pro. We offer, to our students at University of Georgia, they can be trained in 6 technology programs before they even graduate. It's fabulous. Technology, blog, website. I love seeing people write about, hey, here's the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA. And hey, here's some basic information about how to improve your credit score, just because I can see they're doing above and beyond, and I can see their writing skills. Okay. One of the toughest things I learned about this job was the financial planner job, was my very first day on the job over 20 years ago, when I show up and we're in a client meeting and the husband and wife are fighting with each other and like yelling at each other. And that didn't happen in my house when I grew up, and I didn't know what to do. So I wanted to crawl under my desk and hide, because I didn't know what was going to mean. I was not prepared for the emotions, the conflict, the psychology, just all that stuff, the touchy feely. Okay. For lack of a better non-articulate word. If you have that skill set naturally, that's fabulous. Run with it. Okay. I didn't have that. So I needed to take additional training, additional courses, and just reading up on the internet and buying books and just kind of self-study. And that was kind of before podcasts, but you could listen to some webinars, that type of thing. if you're striking out on the interviews, and one, call me and let me know. I mean, I would try to help you figure out the bottom, but if, as long as the stock market continues to do what it does, which is doing pretty well, now there are some firms that have kind of held back on hiring because of the presidential election, which that's a whole different talk, but not really sure that's really going to impact a lot of things. But market's doing really well. I mean, you should be getting some interviews and getting some offers. If you're not, you're probably doing something wrong in the interview. A lot of it, and I have this later on, so I'm stealing my own thunders, not passionate about the profession, low energy, just like, yeah, I'm Caleb. I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited about this job. That's not what, and I'm not saying you have to be loud and animated and use your hands like me, but the feedback I get all the time is if people don't have questions or they don't have energy, my clients, when I put candidates, they're like, yeah, we like them, but they just weren't interested. Like, I call the candidate like, man, I'm super interested in that job. Like, uh-oh, there's something going on here. So you got to be careful how you're coming across. The mindset that I want to leave you with, if you don't get anything else from this, what problems could I solve for a firm? If you're a career changer and you've got all this business experience and corporate executive, guess what? That translates over. So think of a problem you solved in your department or for your director or maybe you are the director or whoever it was. You can do that same thing. You're going to work at most of the time small businesses. I mean, the smallest RIA, sole practitioner could have a couple million in assets and, 5-figure revenue up to the biggest, at least RIAs that I deal with, maybe 500 billion. These big aggregators, and they could have 500 or 600, more people. Okay. But most of the firms that I deal with are in between probably 100 million in assets to probably 2 or 3 billion. Okay. That's where I recruit for mostly. We spend 16 weeks on this slide right here at the University of Georgia. We have probably a two or 3 minutes on for this talk, but and this is also in my book too, so you can keep it. Finding Your Path, I've got a resource later on. Here are the 6 main channels that I came up with that hopefully will help give you some clarity. Okay. And even though I've said, look, I've mostly focused on the RIA, I'm trying to be sort of, agnostic here and just give you the pros and cons, but insurance company, so that's the licensing that you're going to need, the 6 and the 63 usually. A lot of them now probably just want you to be fully licensed. It's the 7 and the 66. Okay. So the 7 is the stockbroker, the 66 is the combined, the 65 and the 63. But I mean, you've seen these people on TV and all over Facebook and YouTube at Northwestern Mutual, Mass Mutual. If you watch sports, in New York Life. And just the thing to remember there is they say they're going to do financial planning, and a lot of them probably do. But at the end of the day, when times get tough, they're going to revert back to what they know, at least my personal experience, and it hasn't changed over 20 years. They're going to revert back to what they're good at, and that's the insurance component. Okay? Not bad. If that's what you're looking for, that is great. Okay. Wirehouse, just think of like all the stockbroker movies, Wolf on Wall Street, Morgan Stanley, UBS. You could put Merrill Lynch in there. I mean, they're really, they're part of Bank of America now, but still, they're going to be focused on the investments. Okay. Asset gathering investments, alternative investments, doing things like that. Brokerage firms, still fully licensed, 766. If you're from small town, anywhere, Idaho or Iowa or small town Georgia, there might not be a fee only RIA, but I can guarantee you there's going to be a bank and a credit union and probably an Edward Jones office. Okay. But Charles Schwab, Vanguard, those are retail brokerage firms, but also institutional. So, well, Vanguard's not, but Schwab and Fidelity are. So they actually hold advisors, clients' assets as well, in addition to retail. That's another probably term that you need to know, maybe retail. So that's just you walk right into a branch off the street. You're not working with a client's not working with an advisor, versus institutional. That's somebody who's working with a financial advisor, and Schwab or Fidelity or whoever it is holding is holding the client's assets. Fee only registered investment advisor. All you need is a Series 65. You don't need a Series 7. You don't need a CFP. You don't need all this stuff. CFP is voluntary. Okay. Series 65 to charge a fee for investment advice. That's all you need. Okay. And it's not a joke. It's not anything like the CFP, but it's not as easy as it used to be. Okay. And we get a lot of people get hired and they fail it. And then I get calls from that firm saying, "Hey, Caleb, we hired someone on their own. They can't pass the 65. Can you find us somebody?" All right, that's how I learn about these stories, right? Because it's been a long time since I've taken it. Some of my students have passed it when they've been in my class. And if they can do that while they're working part-time, they're taking 15 hours at UGA and they can pass the 60. I mean, you can do it too. Elwood and Getz, that's a firm here in Athens, Georgia, where I live. Duly registered. So let's muddy the waters even further. So fee only means and hopefully you know this, but you're only getting compensated by the client. Okay, there's a spectrum here. There's fee only is on one side, commission base is on one side, and in the middle it's fee based, and that's what duly registered is. We take fees from our clients, but we also get commissions for products that we sell from third-party vendors, okay, that want us to sell mutual funds and investments and insurance and annuities and those types of things. Carlson Wealth Advisors, a firm that I'm recruiting for. And then lastly, bank and credit union. I talked about this already, 6 and 63, that a lot of CDs, a lot of mutual funds, a lot of doing some mortgage stuff. But the cool thing about this channel is you sign up for a bank and you log in, you get to see all the clients, all the customers and their bank balance. So if you see little Sally Smith and she's got $3 million sitting in a checking account earning nothing, yeah, might be a warm lead for you to call and see if you can, maybe do something with that. Okay, so pros and cons of all of these, you need to figure out where you're the best fit. And that's doing different internships or just calling people and asking to take them to coffee, listening to our podcast. I have over 200 episodes of people transitioning into financial planning, usually into the RIA from these other channels or out of school. So if there's a downturn that's going to happen, which like, hey, there's going to be a downturn. There's going to be a downturn. They're always predicting it, even though they predicted it for the last 7 years when it finally happened. See, I told you so. The planning centric. So financial planning focused. All these firms are going to say they're financial planning focused, but you need to ask the right questions. Like, how long is your meeting process? Do you charge for a financial plan? Can you show me a deliverable? Things like that, just to see if they're really doing financial planning versus some firms are going to say, well, Caleb, what we really meant was we kind of have a notebook here and we sort of jot down some ideas and some goals, and then we transfer the assets and invest the money. Okay. Not that that's bad or good or right or wrong, just that needs to match up with what you're looking for. And most of the time, that's not what the candidates I work with are looking for. And the product sales and the commission side, I mean, if you're charging a fee and the revenue, the asset balance goes down 30%, well, your fees are not going to go down 30% because it's a well-diversified portfolio, but your fee may go down 20%. People that are out there selling insurance and doing other things, the commission is what the commission is, whatever the market's doing. So I hope that was helpful. That was really quick. I'm trying to move quickly here so we can get to some questions, but how do we connect with firms? That's probably what you guys care about the most. The BLX is a fabulous program, and they're doing a lot of stuff, matching you guys up with good quality firms. Social media and Google, like if you're in Smithville, Indiana, Smithville Financial Planners, and just reach out to those people. Hey, I'm considering changing careers, or I'm a new college grad, would love just to talk with you. I was checking out your firm. Very impressive. Love the success. Can I just, buy you a cup of coffee just to ask you a few questions? Most people, they may not go to coffee with you, but they'll say, look, let's just talk for a few minutes. Most people will do that. And if they don't, you don't want to work with them or really be affiliated with them anyways. Okay. And that's rude. And I try to call those people out and hammer those people whenever I get their names. I would focus on the job boards, on the financial planning specific, NAPFA, FPA, CFP. A lot of firms post on LinkedIn just because there's 600 million users or something worldwide. So that's why they post there. You get into sort of the Indeeds and the Monsters and the Career Builders, there's going to be a lot of sales jobs, which again, not necessarily bad if that's what you're looking for. But whenever you see here, and I have a video on this on our YouTube channel, earn as much as you want, do whatever you want, come in whenever you want, wear whatever you want, work with whoever you want. If you see that on the job description, a red light should go off saying that's probably a sales job. Be your own boss. You can everybody does. That's a sales job. Okay. And again, not bad or good. Most of the time, though, people aren't looking for that. And I have to talk to them a year later and clean up the mess. That's why I'm making such a big deal with this. And the last one is, I mean, I don't know sort of what the where you guys are, but Gen Z, Gen Y, they a lot of times they don't like picking up the phone. They've been texting all their life. So picking up the telephone can get a lot of stuff done in a very short amount of time. So just, saw you on there. I saw that you're going to be speaking at this thing in Raleigh, next week. I'm in town. I'm thinking about going. Love just to chat with you after your presentation. Fabulous. Okay. You send an email, they may not get back to you. People, I mean, they're not just sitting there reading coffee, or I'm sorry, reading the newspaper, drinking coffee, reading coffee, and waiting to respond, waiting for you to email and give you a job. Okay. These people are busy. They have other things going on. They're running their business. Yes, they want to help the profession, but they also have to take care of their clients. So let's talk about some video mistakes. Didn't test out the technology, calling in late. Oh, well, the interview was at 10. I called in at 10:02. Ooh, not good, right? You may think it's okay, but the Smiths, that $10 million client, you call in 4 minutes late, and Jane Smith is the CEO of a $50 million a year company. Like, she's not having that. Nope. You did not get that client, or you lost that client. You always want to outdress whoever you're interviewing with. And, if you're in California, you could probably get away without a tie, but I would always just keep one in the car. West Coast, sort of casual, relaxed. Didn't check out your lighting. It's looking dark and dingy and gross and just not exciting, not fresh, not positive, not a lot of energy. It's obvious when you're on an interview and you're doing this right here. Oop, got to check my text. I got to check my fantasy football. Oh man, got smacked this week. No, that's no good. All right. People know that you're doing that when you're not present with them. Drinking, I had to drink some water. So I've sort of had to fall on the sword on that one, but that's fine. If you've got coffee or water, you just don't want to just be overdoing it and sitting there sucking down 3 Diet Cokes, right? Sometimes the internet's not so good, walking around. And here's the last one. No questions prepared. I already touched on that. You need to have at least 2 or 3 questions prepared prior to going into the interview. Then you probably need to develop at least 2 to 3 more when you're in the conversation. If you get to the end of the interview and they ask you if you have any questions, and I can guarantee very little in financial planning, and you say, I do not have any questions, you are not getting the job. I can almost guarantee it. You will not get the job or the interview. So don't do that. That's an easy one. You can control that, right? Some of us, we can't control, like, hey, I was just gifted with like client, extroverted personality, and man, the client stuff. I mean, we can control this. Okay. So keep your head up. Sometimes it's hard transitioning into this business, especially if you're looking for kind of that salaried mentorship situation where someone's going to pay you to learn on their clients and you don't have to get clients and they're going to teach you. I mean, that's about as good as it gets in the apprenticeship model. That's kind of hard to find. That's why you don't see a lot of those job postings, but with some hard work and some investigative and just some perseverance, you can carve out an opportunity probably. That's, if you look at my story or look into some of my podcasts that I've done or my book, you can see some of that. Because like I said, I was an average candidate. If I'm able to get in the business and have what I think is a modicum of success, you can do it too. Train yourself. The training, especially if you go to these smaller RIAs, is going to be all on the job. Usually they're not going to sit you in front of PowerPoint slides for 6 months like some of the big firms will. And that's something I think the career changers on here need to understand. I mean, if you're coming from a corporation with 35,000 people, going to a 4-person firm could be a challenge for you. You need to think through that, okay, and really be honest with yourself. You may have to get some additional education, any sort of skill or product. Hey, I just put my kids through college, and I'm an expert in PLUS loans and 529 plans. Fabulous. Put that on your cover letter, your resume. Talk to the firms about it. Stay positive, keep your head up. We want to grow this profession. I don't want you giving up. I mean, that's probably my worst days at work when there's a candidate out there that's just doing really good. And for some reason, we just can't get them a job. The firms won't take a chance on them, or they give up and like, oh, I'm going to go be a football coach or whatever it is, which is fine to do that. Right. We need teachers too, but it's like, oh man, we lost one. We could have captured on that. Especially the smaller firms, just be prepared. Hey, Sally went out on maternity leave. This person went on sabbatical. Oop, this person quit. You kind of got to step up and just kind of all hands on deck and just being prepared to roll the sleeves up. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I'm an easy guy to find. I'm out there. I want to be available to you. Happy to take questions now, but if you're not comfortable, you can always email me or find me on LinkedIn. But here's my information. Finding Your Path. I wrote this book for you last summer. We published it last summer. The book is for you. Okay. I know we have some career changers on here, but it's geared more towards a college grad out of a CFP program, but 94% of the book is still applicable to you. So hopefully you've checked out. If not, it's not going to break the bank. It's 99 cents on Audible. Okay. $6 on Kindle, and then maybe 15 on a paperback. Okay. So I think we have a little bit of time here. So I will just stop and see if there's any questions. I can't see anything other than my screen. So if there's questions, maybe just put them in the chat box, or Chloe can help me out and we can get them answered.
Yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you have in the chat box, and we can get them answered. We'll leave a couple of minutes just to see if anyone has anything.
Did I run everybody off, Chloe?
No. Yeah, here's
Okay.
one question. Can you give an example of what sorts of problems new college graduates could solve?
Ooh, I like that one. What about you find a firm in your area and you want to talk with them, and you scroll down to the bottom of their website and there's no social media, or it says it says like updated or copyright 2021, really fresh, really updated, right? Okay. So how about just saying, look, your website, say this professionally, but it's kind of bad, it needs to be updated. It's from it looks like it's only 3 years old, but in technology, it looks like it's 30 years old. Okay. Hey, here's some ideas. I can get all the social media accounts set up. I can start pumping out content. I can use AI to help generate a script for some videos or some blog content, come up with a marketing campaign. I can get us hooked up with MailChimp, so we have a newsletter list. I can update the pictures. We can shoot some video. I mean, look, you guys know how to do that stuff already. Can you join a firm and say, hey, I'm good. I can take over 100 client relationships and start managing 100 million? No, you can't do that because you're trying to learn. But some of these other things, absolutely. The technology's big. Hey, I can help. I can revisit all the marketing materials that you already have that are probably PDF versions. Let's kind of refresh those. Oh, you just got that $10 million client that's got, a bunch of grandkids that are 25 or whatever, and they have, $30,000, and you don't want to deal with them. I can probably deal with that because I'm used to dealing with when I was in school, I was a peer counselor, and that's who we dealt with. So, look, I can go on all day. I would challenge you to figure out some things that you think some problems you could solve. Hey, we're not efficient. I was in an internship through BLX, and these guys, their average time to onboard a client was 4 days. I have that data. That's big data. Okay. Some of you corporate America types, that's big data. I'm with you guys. I'm at the new firm, and it's 14 days to onboard a new client. Ooh. Okay. Not sure I know what's going on, but hey, let me take a stab at this. Let me dig in there and see what's going on. Start with a CRM, see if we can get that down. That's the stuff that firm owners care. Really, when firm owners, who they're looking for is someone who could come in and take over clients immediately, bring in a bunch of clients, and not have to be supervised. Okay. We've already established when you're an entry-level person, you can't do that. But when you talk about increasing efficiency, helping bring clients in, not because you're out there networking, but just because you did something and the SEO rankings changed, or you came up with you coded something on whatever it is, Python or iExcel or whatever it is. And now you're getting more website hits. I mean, that's the stuff like that's adding value to a firm and without having a lot of experience.
Thank you. And I'll add too, just anything with processes and procedures, like improving. If you see that the firm doesn't have like a procedures manual, you could definitely start one and start documenting all the processes and things that you're learning, because that can help train the next person, and as you progress in your career in the firm. So all those things are extremely helpful to business owners. All right, so we have a question. As a career changer, I've applied for a few internships outside of BLX, but was either rejected or ghosted. Internships seem to be geared more towards college students than career changers. Any advice?
Well, that's probably true. Yeah, I mean, it's like come work in between your last semester. And frankly, the career changers that call, it's like, look, I'm in the workforce. Like I can't like stop my high paying job and go do an internship. So I mean, maybe that's just a disconnect. Again, I don't know where you are, what your situation is. So there's a lot of variables. And I think this is where, and I think you guys do in person, but also virtual things. And this is where everybody defaults to the virtual. And I would just tell you to take what you can get. And this is why Hannah Moore came up with Amplified Planning, the externship, because it allows people to work their full-time, real job. And even the students who, I mean, what I run into a lot is this, even the undergrads, like, hey, I can't pay rent at my current place and then go to Dallas for my internship and pay. I'm like, that's just not going to work, because things are so much more expensive. So I hear you. It's a big struggle out there. If you haven't done the externship, you should do it every year until we have experienced practitioners doing it and learning things. But it's not a lot of money. It's online. I'm pretty sure it's asynchronous, so you can do it whenever you want. Like I have students that get off their bar job at 2:00 in the morning and like trying to wind down. They're like watching some of the, new planner recruiting videos or the externship stuff. So that's better than nothing. But really, ideally, you would be able to find a firm in your local area, and depending on your work schedule, hey, I get off work at 5. Is there any way I could just I'll sign a non-disclosure, non-compete, whatever it is, non-solicit. Could I just come over and observe, for a few, an hour or two when you guys are closing down? That's actually kind of what I did, even though I had a full-time internship. I didn't get to spend really any time with the guy that hired me in the full-time advisor. I was getting exposure in a lot of other different areas, which was great. But I'm like, Larry, I want to spend time with you. He's like, dude, I'm busy from 8 to 5 with all running the business. And he's kind of an old school guy. And he said, I'm not going to pay you to, spend like me taking time away from my stuff. I'm paying you. You're not in. Like, I said, okay, fine. I'll just take that off the table. I clock out at 5 o'clock and I'll stay up here as long as we need to. Okay. I mean, look, I was 22 at the point, no kids, no wife, no obligations. So I was able to do that, but it worked out for me. From 5 to about 8 o'clock at night, we would hang out and debrief and sometimes go to dinner. And it's all detailed in the book. And that was more valuable to me, those 2 to 3 hours, than probably the whole 8-hour day at the firm. So I know it's not a perfect answer, probably not what you're looking for, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I'd say too, Caleb, do you have any advice for a career changer that's maybe looking for a full-time position? And especially if they're in a situation where maybe like their spouse, is working, or they're, in a second career and they have the financial stability to transition and kind of take a step back to move forward in a different career.
I mean, that's ideal, right? You've got, you've got a loving, caring, sort of, supportive spouse. Like you're going to go from what to what? Because that certainly happens, in the conversation. Those work really well. And I mean, look, we've got limited time here. I mean, I would just point you to the podcast and say, just go to the New Planner podcast and just sort through the episodes where we've had career changers, and you're going to hear hundreds and dozens of stories about people who've done exactly that. We even have some people on there that said, hey, I knew I was going to do this. I had to save up money Like I wasn't even contributing to my retirement accounts. I was saving up money and hoarding cash for a couple years because I knew I was going to have to do this and I was going to take a pay cut and I was going to have, I mean, the sacrifices that some of these people have made to get into business, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and I'm just like, I love it. I mean, they really want in and it worked out for them. I mean, it doesn't always work out the first time and probably how they want it to work out, but it does work out. You keep knocking on the door will open. It may not be the person you want to see on the other side, but the door will open. Okay. So I would tell you the challenge that I have is mostly income based. Like, hey, I'm making buku dollars as a mortgage broker. Oop, got laid off, and I just want to become a financial planner now and make the same thing. Like, well, it doesn't really work that way. All right. That's like me saying, you know, hey, I don't want to be a financial planner anymore. I want to go be a neurosurgeon. I want to make what they make. Like, okay, that's great. You got to go to medical school. Like, no, I don't want to do all that. Like, you see how it doesn't work the other way. So why should it work this way? So if you don't have that financial pressure, I would even put that in your cover letter. Like, you know, I don't need some big high salary because that's probably why some of the firm owners are like, ooh, we'd love to hire the career changer with all the life experience because that's what you have. And that's what a 22-year-old like myself did not have. But we're not going to pay them a big salary, you know, to do this, or we're not going to relocate them and do all these things. And, or they've got kids in a certain school district. So it just gets more complicated. And I found that people are just less likely to make sacrifices. And look, I'm saying this is not, it's going to come across maybe as a negative, but if people, if after it's just like, no, I'm not, like I was talking to someone like, hey, I have this perfect position for you in downtown Denver. Okay. Well, I'm 25 minutes away. Not going to consider it. Wow. Okay. I mean, look, you got to do what's right for your family, but that never happened before COVID. Never. It's like, heck yeah, man, I'm on it. I'll commute. I'll do whatever. And it's like, it's just too far. Not interested. So just an observation.
All right. And then another question. I'm currently completing my CFP coursework ever since I've graduated from college, a college that didn't have a CFP program. I'm on the second to last course. Should I prioritize the Series 65 or finishing the CFP?
So, okay, you just make sure I heard that right. So you finished the CFP coursework, and is that right? Now
Yeah,
you're
so there's
studying
no
for the CFP.
experience, so I guess it'll take a while to get the CFP. So should they prioritize the 65?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what type of firm you want to go to. If you have your heart set on a fee only RIA where you have the Series 65, I would put the studying and taking the CFP exam on hold for uh, momentarily and go past that 65. It'll probably take you a month, you know, couple weeks to study, and you do some practice stuff, test, and you know, just to go through the questions in the question bank. I would go do that first, because that way, right when you get hired, if you answer the phone and the client says, hey, what is an ETF? Why are we in ETFs? You can answer that question and not get the firm sued. Okay. Because that's technically giving investment advice. All right. At least in terms of the SEC and the regulators. And it also shows you have serious commitment. I mean, you're already showing you have serious, I mean, to go through an undergrad, and I feel bad for for you guys. Like, you go through an undergrad, then you have to go through another set of courses to sit for I mean, it's a lot of effort. I mean, and there's no way a firm, at least the firms I work with, can say, oh, they're not serious. Nah, they think they can't say that because no one's going to put forth that much effort. So put pause on the CFP, get the 65 knocked out, which will be no problem. Studying and maybe some of the questions on the 65 may help you on the CFP, then pick the CFP up later. And that way in the interviews, you can say, I'm already 65 licensed, ready to go. Boom. Finishing up by my CFP studies. I'm taking the November exam. Boom. And that's what the firms want to hear, or at least the clients I recruit for.
All right. How can a candidate overcome the stigma that comes with a gap and or short stay at their last position on their resume?
Well, the short answer is you may not be able to overcome it. It's like some of the baby boomer firm owners that are in control of the hiring, like just don't like that. I mean, again, you've heard this before. They grew up where somebody stayed 30 years, 40 years. Look, here's what I try to tell people. If you need to try to stay at least 1 year. Okay. If you're relocating somewhere and you're going to a new firm, you need to give that firm probably 3 years, get involved in the community, whatever it is. I just had a person earlier today who's like, Caleb, I'm in this horrible fit. And he was in Arizona somewhere, and he's like, move me out, move me. And I have probably 5 jobs I could put him in front of. It's like, man, if you really want to be in this city, but he's like, I think I might be able to get another job at another firm in 6 months. I'm like, dude, you got to ride this out. Ride it out, study for your CFP, go through the process with this firm. Sometimes, especially early in our career, we just have to do things that we may not want to do. Even at the end of your career, you may have to do that. Okay. You have a little more control the further along you are. But if you have short gaps, don't try to hide. I mean, it's hard because I don't know the facts, but try to be as honest as possible. I mean, I believe in transparency. I mean, if it truly was a bad fit, just tell them like, look, I thought it was this. They thought I was doing that. It wasn't a fit. I had to move on, whatever it is. If you're terminated, if you're laid off, I mean, you just kind of have to try to tell the story in shed the best light possible. If they fire you because like, look, you just can't do the job. Well, I mean, you need to take that advice to heart, and maybe you need to beef up on your skills. So, and then what I'll call, maybe to stick with my sports analogies, maybe you need a red shirt for a couple months or a year, maybe take another job. And like, if you were horrible on the phone, like I was, I probably should have gone to a phone center job before I was on prime time with some of our clients and making dumb mistakes. So you just have to know yourself. Sometimes you're not going to be able to explain it out, and it's just going to look bad. And hopefully you can find the right firm owner at the right time in their life. Maybe they just lost someone and they really need someone. And, they really wanted Simone Biles, and, they get Caleb Brown instead. So that might happen. All right. Like I said earlier, you keep knocking on the door, somebody will, I get a lot of this with like, well, my GPA is not very good. I don't have a very good GPA either. Okay? You can overcome those things.
All right, we'll give it another minute or so, see if there's any other questions. Feel free to put it in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any other questions coming in. So yeah, we'll just wrap up a little bit early. But thank you so much, Caleb. This is great information. And yeah, you have his contact information. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. The podcast is great. The book is great. So yeah, take advantage of those resources that are available as well. But thank you so much again, Caleb.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, someone said thank you. This was great. But yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you all. In a couple of weeks, we have another info session, so you can sign up for that on our website under events if you missed the one for October. But otherwise, we will talk to you later. Thanks.